I've watched this destroy companies. One of the most devastating things to company is employee lunches. It really is. Hey, Alec Miller, founder of Royals and Rogues, and today I have some good news for you. So I actually have been debating making this video for the last couple of days. We're currently in a crisis of sorts. I didn't really want to make a video on current events since I don't think it would really be relevant in the future, but I've been seeing more and more a need for exactly what I wanted to talk about. And because of that, I'm going to make this anyway, but I'm going to try to keep it applicable to life in general. It really does apply outside of this one situation. What is it? There's good news out there. I think so much of the information we take in is incredibly negative. It's very pessimistic. It's all doom and gloom, and it's really devastating to you as a person, to your productivity, to your ability to go do new things, to stay inspired, to get inspired. It's very hard to be inspired by all this horrible awfulness. It's really easy to be inspired by something beautiful. Like most people that go and create something, they're inspired because of beauty. Sometimes you're inspired because of tragedy, right? Sometimes it forces you to look deep down. But usually when we're like, oh, I need to make that, like I want to paint that, it's usually a sunset. It's usually when we bring up our camera to take a picture, it's of the Grand Canyon. It's of something wonderful or beautiful. Sometimes we're like, oh, look at that nasty trash. Like that might be an interesting angle. But the vast majority of the time, things that really light up our eyes are things that are beautiful and wonderful. Not so when it comes to news. Not so. There's a ton of stuff that's been really positive that's been completely ignored because of current circumstances. And because of that, what's getting drowned out is all the good news, all the things that don't get all the clicks. So that's things like the fires in Australia. They're over. They're ended. Australia's had the heaviest rainfall that it's had in a very long time. And so it's really killed off these wildfires. And that's wonderful news that you probably didn't know. Once again, the media is all reporting on it when it's, when it was bad. It's like, oh, there's horrible things happening. But when that horrible thing ends, you think we'd report just as much to celebrate it, right? And to inform people, by the way, things have gotten better and things will get better. But no, that's not how this works. The next good news is Harvey Weinstein was convicted and is in prison. This was something that was reported on hugely when it happened. It was all over the news. It started a whole movement of bringing out people that had been abusing women and giving women a voice to talk about their abuse. And not just women, but other people that have been abused, men, teens. This is such a great thing that came out of this horrible awfulness. And all we could talk about is how he was getting away with it. All we could talk about is how nothing was happening. Well, then when that thing that we all wanted to happen, justice to be served, actually happened, nobody's reporting on it, right? And I'm not celebrating in someone else's demise. I don't think that's a good thing to do, but it is right to celebrate when justice is served and to know that our legal system isn't completely broken. That's wonderful as well, and that's good news. And I think it's great to have some closure, perhaps, for a lot of these women that suffered. That's something that you might not have heard had happened. That's a huge news story. And another smaller but still really cool news story is that dozens of blue whales have been spotted returning to Antarctica for the first time since the 80s. Like, this is great news for our wildlife, for the oceans, something that we hear a lot of negative news about. There are positive things happening. It doesn't mean that overall we stop caring about the negative things, but we're already aware of those. And we need to be made aware of some of these positive things that are also happening, because it makes it worth the results. If you're constantly working towards some good and you never see it happening, it's like you're going to give up, right? If you're constantly working out and you never make any gains, you're going to stop working out. So it's nice to see that payoff. So this is all good news that you haven't heard. And I kind of want to bring it back to the Australia thing, because what's really interesting is when I went to Google the Australian wildfires to see what was going on with them, I literally searched fires in Australia ended. That was my search chain. And the top result is the end of Australia as we know it. The next result is what you need to know about the Australian bushfires. Okay, a little less toxic. The third up to bat is rain could extinguish Australia's wildfires by the end of the week. The fourth result, which is the one that's actually relevant to my search chain, which is the most recent article, is buried 4 down and is, all bushfires extinguished in Australia's hardest hit. So even that still manages to keep some negativity in it. And this is what's really bothering me right now is even this story that's only positive, all bushfires extinguished in Australia, they have to include like hardest hit, like it's still negative. This is something I really want to warn against. If you have people in your life that take good news and turn it into bad news, you need to ditch those people. If you have people in your company that take good news and turn it into bad news, you need to fire those people. Not right now, when you're in the state of emergency, but when the economy picks up, look at reorganizing without those negative people. Focusing on good news doesn't mean you ignore the bad news. We all know the bad news. We all know there are problems. We know there are problems with our healthcare system. We know there are problems with our legal system. We know there are problems with pretty much every system that ever existed. There are problems in every family that's ever existed. That doesn't mean that you ignore when someone has a new kid and you don't celebrate with them. It doesn't mean that you ignore when it's someone's birthday and you don't celebrate with them, or someone graduates, when someone does something good. Like, just because someone's getting B's and C's all semester, but then at the end of the year they graduate, you don't sit there and punish them and say like, well, but you got B's and C's the whole semester. And I've been noticing a trend in my Facebook feed of people taking really fantastic good news and turning it into bad news. And so I'm muting those people. And I recommend you mute those people too. There's an option in Facebook, you can click and mute for a month. I would do that. Maybe mute them for 2 months, because they're taking good news. Things like construction workers and film sets are donating their extra masks to hospitals. That's fantastic news. And then they take it and twist it and make it into bad news. And they say, oh, but why is this even an issue in the first place? General Motors is switching from car production to ventilator production. And then they'll say, oh, well, too bad we have to rely on a private company to save our hospitals. Why isn't this already fixed? And it's like, shut up. Like, honestly, shut up. This is good news. This is people coming together, giving freely of themselves to make something positive happen. And you're going to twist that into something negative? And it's like, look, there's a number of reasons why we weren't prepared. And you can blame the current president, you can blame the last 3 presidents, you can blame the last 10 presidents. Any one of them should have made us more prepared for something like this. That being said, let's focus on the good news. Let's focus on the positive. And why it's so important is I've watched this destroy companies. One of the most devastating things to company is employee lunches. It really is. Because what happens is everyone gets together, they go out for a couple of drinks, and then they crap on the company. And I'm guilty of this. I've done this at companies I work at. Now, the difference is I would take that knowledge, so I would go and ask everyone what their problems were. I'd take that knowledge, and then I go tell people. I've been disliked. I've never been fired, but I've been pretty close to being fired at companies because I'm not afraid to tell them what they're doing wrong. But I've definitely taken part in these types of lunches, and without realizing at the time when I was younger how dangerous they were. Letting people sit there and fester and focus on the negativity and only talk about how horrible things are without any solutions, without any idea of how to make things better, without, finding ways to improve things, is a surefire way that your company's going to die. So here's the practical part of this video. Morale is incredibly important. It's a very real thing. Morale wins wars. It really does. Morale wins companies. It makes companies rich. You look at a company like Zappos, really their most valuable asset is their morale. That's what's made them rich. It isn't just business practices. It isn't these other things. It's really investing in their employees and keeping morale high. And anyone that's trying to sabotage morale, you need to mute those people. Or you need to find a way to convert them to somebody positive. It's really hard to do if you get someone that has just a negative mindset that they can't get out of. It is something that needs to change. It's also something that you should look at yourself. Ask yourself, am I one of these people? Am I finding ways to make something that would be a positive into a negative? And then take it a step further. How can I take something that's negative and make it into a positive? How can I take something that looks like a problem and turn it into a exciting, profitable solution? Not profitable financially necessarily, but profitable for people to prosper, right? So there you have it. There's some good news that's hopefully encouraging to you that you might not have known of, and it is a good reason for you to look at how to increase morale within your company and for yourself. I'm going to add a disclaimer. This is the least relevant part of the video, so you can skip this if you're watching this anytime in the future. If you're watching this right now, I'm not saying to not take the current situation seriously. It is a serious situation. You should take it seriously. You should be self-quarantining, social distancing. Me and my wife have actually been quarantined longer than most people. We've been quarantined 2 days longer. And before it was even in order, we were just like, you know what? It's probably a good idea if we just reduce contact with everybody we know. I work from home. She requested to work from home, and it's been good. So I'm not saying don't take it seriously, but I am saying keep morale high. Watch out for people that are going to be sabotaging your morale at your company, in your life, and mute them. Get rid of them. You can't have those people around, especially in hard times. Keeping morale high, keeping soldiers excited, keeping people ready to go. That's how you win battles. That's how you get through hard times. It's not through a negative mindset. And I'm someone that's very critical. Like, I'm someone like, even this video was kind of somewhat weirdly negative while trying to be positive. I'm what I like to call a hopeful pessimist. I have an underlying base level of pessimism that, is kind of the way I look at the world. I'm a kind of a skeptic. But there's a layer of positivity on top of that, where I'm going to plan for the worst, but hope for the best. And that's necessary in this life. You have to hope for the best. If you don't hope for the best, you're never going to move forward. It's just like, well, why should I even try? Because if I try, I'm going to fail. You got to move forward and get through this. I really hope this helps some people out, hearing some good news. It's not going to be the most relevant video forever, but, who cares? Some people need to hear this right now. And if you're one of those people, I really hope that this resonated with you. I mean, I'm going to be sharing this video to a lot larger audience, so I'm not going to say like and subscribe. It just kind of feels weird anyways. But if you enjoy what I'm doing and want to stick around, I'll see you in the next one.